It is not unusual to see Republican Senate candidates oppose abortion rights. In a review of the abortion positions of this year's crop of new Republican Senate candidates, though, the radicalness of these candidates' anti-abortion positions does stand out. It stands out, we think, based on our review, to a historic extent. I don't know of a slate of top-of-the-ticket candidates all fielded in any one year in American politics that has been this radical on abortion issues. So why have we heard so little about it? Why have we heard so little about it from these Republicans who have such strong views on abortion, or from their Democratic opponents? Joining us now is Princeton professor, columnist for The Nation, and MSNBC contributor Melissa Harris-Lacewell. Melissa, thanks for coming back and joining us.
Oh, of course, anytime.
So what would be the consequences of having a whole bunch of new sitting senators elected to the U.S. Senate who are opposed to abortion, not just in all regular cases, but also cases in which the pregnancy resulted from rape or incest?
Well, I mean, I think we've already seen the consequences of having a significant portion of even one party, even the party out of power, with a very strong anti-reproductive choice agenda. We saw it, for example, in the healthcare fight, where somehow, abortion became the central issue in a comprehensive healthcare reform bill. The central issue became controlling women's right to choose, controlling women's fertility, but not giving women the ability to control their own, but having the government do it. So I think clearly every time we move more aggressively against women's reproductive rights, the more that we will see the consequences show up in everything from healthcare policy to, potentially actually moving towards reducing the opportunities for women to, actually find healthy, safe termination services.
Why is it that why do you think that abortion politics that used to be confined only to the real fringe of the anti-abortion movement are now mainstream enough for Republican Senate candidates to be adopting them? Not just one, not just two, but a whole slew of them. How did even anti-abortion politics in mainstream electoral politics get so fringy?
Well, you've been doing a lot of history tonight, and so I just want to pause and maybe do a quick history lesson here and remind your viewers that what's happening is we're in a period of deep economic anxiety. And often when America is in a period of economic anxiety, it starts looking around for individuals to blame, and sometimes the very best place to start asserting control is right in the middle of a woman, in her uterus. The fact is that there's been a lot of discourse about women's reproduction. On the one hand, there's this anxiety about the derogatory anchor babies, right? The idea that there's a population that is over-reproducing, and these women should be shunted out of the country. They should be, criminalized, and their children should not be given citizenship rights. On the other hand, there's an anxiety about wanting, particularly middle-class white women, to produce more babies. Because, see, what middle-class white women have done is gone off and get careers and become equal in their marriages. And so marriage equality is not just about those scary same-sex people, but also about these assertive women who are equal in their marriages and therefore not producing enough white children to counter back all of these bad anchor babies. So there is a whole set of very deep racial and economic anxieties that always emerge whenever we start looking at politicians wanting to talk about controlling the fertility and particularly the reproductive choices of women.
Why do you think the Democrats have been gun-shy so far about making an issue of this? I mean, these are really extreme anti-abortion positions, and I know that Democrats have sort of lost the taste for fighting on the abortion issue, but in this case, it sort of seems like you'd expect them to be crowing about this.
I think there are probably two reasons. One, I think it's very important to take those who have a religious and moral objection to abortion very seriously when they say that they believe that a pregnancy termination is murder. And the fact is that if you believe that, right, you simply can't really have a conversation around when is it okay to commit murder and when isn't it, right? So part of it is that there's a very strong sort of position for those who are against it on these kind of moral or ethical grounds. And by the way, I respect that position. I just don't think it should be a matter of law. I think individuals have a right to hold that opinion, but I think that precisely the kind of government we have is that those positions should be protected, as well as the right to choose issues for those who don't believe that the termination of a pregnancy constitutes murder. So part of it is it's hard to have the conversation because there's not a lot of common ground. But the other piece of it is Democrats just haven't done a very good job about redefining ethical questions and normative questions from a progressive agenda perspective, right? So they continue to kind of cede this ground to conservatives. It's still more of the same work we've been needing to do for a decade.
Melissa Harris-Lacewell, Princeton professor, columnist for The Nation, MSNBC contributor, and somebody who is very, very smart, who I always enjoy talking to. Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks, Rachel.
Really appreciate it.